Anyway, I'll go ahead and I'll look at this. Campaign to pardon Derek Chauvin. Derek Chauvin? The former Minneapolis police officer convicted in the death of George Floyd has gained some traction among conservative figures, including Ben Shapiro. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh.
If we are issuing pardons, however, there is one person that President Trump should pardon from federal charges forthwith. It would be incredibly controversial, but I think that it's absolutely necessary. That person is Derek Chauvin. President Trump should, in fact, pardon Derek Chauvin. He should. He should pardon him his federal charges. If we are talking about reversing the evils of the last several years in American life, obviously COVID and its handling was a massive evil. Destroyed the economy, set us on a path to fiscal insanity, destroyed children, led to massive health-related cover-ups, just horrifying all the way around. And President Trump has taken on a lot of those things. But when it came to BLM, the inciting event for the BLM riots that caused $2 billion in property damage in the United States.
Only $2 billion?
And set America's race relations on their worst footing in my lifetime.
That's true. That's true. The George Floyd case was really bad, and I think it did set race relations back a whole amount of times, right? A massive amount of times.
Was, in fact, the railroading of Derek Chauvin in the death of George Floyd. The evidence demonstrates that Derek Chauvin did not, in fact, commit murder of George Floyd. George Floyd was high on fentanyl. He had a significant pre-existing heart condition. Floyd was saying he could not breathe before he was even out of the car. He was in the car saying he could not breathe. Derek Chauvin.
Then why'd you take him out of the car, put your knee on his neck? If he say he can't breathe, so if the guy can't breathe, he's obviously not a threat. So why are you putting your knee on his neck? You ever had somebody choking you, something like that happen? You can't do shit. Because oxygen is what makes you able to move around and shit. So you don't have oxygen, you can't do shit.
Even the tape that was shown had his knee on George Floyd's shoulder or back, not on his neck. The autopsy of George Floyd showed.
No, I was putting pressure on his midsection. I'm going to be real. I completely disagree with this. And after this video, I'm going to bring up some receipts for, like, other reasons why I completely disagree with this. I think Derek Chauvin's a piece of shit. And I'll prove it after this video. You're wrong? Okay, you're going to find out. A lot of people don't know this. It's okay. It's fine. A lot of people don't know this. They might not understand it. We're going to look at it.
That he had no damage to his trachea. That probably George Floyd died of excited delirium. There were no accusations, even at trial, that Derek Chauvin had committed a hate crime against George Floyd or that he targeted George Floyd because of his race.
That's a separate issue. Also, a person's trachea is not the only element that you can put stress on. And just because there's not visible damage doesn't mean that there's not duress and an increase of heart rate and blood pressure when this event is occurring. You're not a doctor? Well, neither is Ben Shapiro, but he's sitting here talking about this too. So, like, I guess this kind of cancels it out. So he's not a doctor, I'm not a doctor, you're not a doctor, nobody's a doctor, so what are we doing?
And despite the fact that there was massive pressure on the jury, that the mayor of Minneapolis paid a settlement to the George Floyd family immediately, that the president of the United States...
The reason why the mayor paid the settlement? Derek Chauvin had fucking 18 other complaints filed against him before George Floyd even happened. And it's already documented in multiple other fucking cases. Use of force incidents. Several complaints involved allegations of excessive force. A notable case from September 2017 involved Chauvin responding to a domestic complaint where he's accusing a 14-year-old black boy in the head with a flashlight requiring stitches, then kneeling on the boy's back for 17 minutes. Demeaning derogatory behavior. Other known incidents. And let's see if there's any more of these. Allegedly identified 6 arrests between 2015 and 2019 where Chauvin allegedly used excessive force, such as restraining individuals by their necks or kneeling on them, though not all of these were admitted as evidence for his murder trial. This guy did tons of this shit. It's not like this is the It's not like this is some innocent, normal, good cop that just for some reason got, caught on the bad end of the stick. No, this is a person, he would have done this to your fucking grandma. He would have done this to your kid. He had 18 complaints against him. The reason why they gave the settlement immediately is because they knew about the complaints. They knew that they had kept this guy on the force, knowing that he had done this in the past, and he was doing it again, and they knew they would lose a lawsuit for it because of these other complaints. I'm saying that this person is a career bad actor, police officer. It is disciplinary. Only 2 resulted in formal discipline. 2 closed with discipline, internal affairs. Each of these cases, Chauvin received a letter of reprimand. The remaining 16 complaints were closed without any disciplinary action taken, meaning no further consequences were documented for the public record. That's the reason why people were pissed off, and they didn't even know it. The thing is about this guy, I hate the martyrdom of Derek Chauvin. This is a bad actor police officer who had a history of bad behavior, who did something that he shouldn't have done. He's been a piece of shit for literal years before this, and I think conservatives are farming fucking L's by defending somebody who is a career bad actor cop. What the fuck are you doing? You want people to trust the police? How the fuck are they going to trust the police when there's 18 complaints and only 2 of them resulted in disciplinary action, and he's still on the fucking force? This is the problem. That's the whole problem. And you're going to act like this guy's a fucking martyr? It's an embarrassment. Who gives a fuck? Look at the case itself. Is he innocent in this case or not? My point is that I think that he's not. I think that his behavior escalated tensions, and those escalated tensions were caused by him. I think that he had a pattern of behavior that is well documented by the police force of escalating force in cases where he should not have escalated force. This is established, right? You can look this up and decide it. And I think that him doing that was a mistake. It was a mistake. He should not have done that. And I do think that his behavior was a catalyst to what happened to George Floyd. Did he cause it to happen? Maybe indirectly. In my opinion, though, when you're a police officer, and especially if you've been reprimanded for this exact same fucking thing. This exact same thing. And I think the martyrdom of this person, this, in my opinion, is the right-wing version of defending Hamas. That's my opinion. It's complete partisan politics, and it's of the benefit of no one.
Suggested that Derek Chauvin was guilty right off the bat. That the jurors were being openly threatened and admitted as much. Despite all of that, Derek Chauvin was convicted on federal charges and pled guilty to federal charges. Derek Chauvin should, in fact, be pardoned on that. We will be covering that a lot more in coming weeks because I think it is worthwhile to remember that there is a man who is rotting in prison because the media decided in the middle of 2020 that they were going to turn a tragic law enforcement stop that ended with the death of a man who had a significant problem with drugs and pre-existing health problems into the raison d'etre of the entire 2020 election. And it led to vast chaos.
Ben Shapiro brings up a good point here about how people took this issue and they made it this like massive race issue. I think that police brutality, and I think that BLM making police brutality a race issue was counterproductive. I think every race suffers from police brutality and police bad behavior. And I don't think that, like, really anybody has a monopoly on that. Now, do black people have it happen to them? They do. And is it disproportionate in some cases? It is. But the fact is that it's everyone doing it, and basically turning it into a race issue, I think made more people not pay attention than if we had looked at police accountability in a general sense. Anyone can have it happen.
It led to, again, the destruction of racial comedy in the United States, $2 billion in property damage, and a guy rotting in prison who the evidence demonstrates certainly was not guilty beyond a reasonable doubt in that case. If we're going to talk about delivering pardons, President Trump, I think, should really seriously consider pardoning on federal charges. He can't pardon on state charges. Derek Chauvin, who is convicted of the murder of George Floyd. As I say, we will be covering this pretty extensively in the coming weeks.
I could not disagree more.
Right now, you should go to pardonderek.com and sign our petition asking President Trump to grant justice to Officer Derek Chauvin.
Yep. Completely disagree. Hopefully with the evidence that I provided and, you know, and you can look all this up for yourself. This is an AI summary. And so, you know, you can say, oh, well, it's inaccurate. You can look it up yourself and figure it out yourself. I think this is needlessly divisive and it serves no purpose other than to score political points. It's completely fucking ridiculous. If Floyd wasn't high, would he still be alive? Yeah, probably. Yes, but I hold police officers to a higher standard of behavior than I hold a random person. Yeah, and this is the thing, right? I think as a police officer, I hold you to a higher standard of behavior because you have the monopoly on violence, right? You have the gun, you have the tasers, you have the handcuffs, you have the rule of law, you have qualified immunity. You know, like, again, like, that's the way I see it. Then pay them more than $50K. There would be a lot of things that I would do differently with police officers. Like, for example, I think that I would probably invest tax money into having like kind of different events. Like every time that like a new police academy graduation happens, I'd probably have some sort of a public event where people could come and get free food and meet the new police officers in their community. I'd support having body cams for everything. I would support also like other forms of public outreach that make the police officers interface with the communities in more regular and casual ways that de-escalate tensions between those people. And I would make a lot of changes to the way that police officers and the community interact. I think it's massively toxic and it's unnecessary. And I would also pay police officers more money too. I would probably give them a very big raise and change the way that the, change the way that their overtime works. Because I think having a police officer work 80 hours a week with overtime, I think that, you know, again, how many of you guys do a bad job and you're ornery and angry when you've been whenever you've been working for 80 hours a week? Everybody, right? And so like, are we going to act like police officers are robots? No, they're people. So if you're overworking these guys, and even if they're making good money with overtime, I think hire more police officers, spread that out across more people, have real accountability, and then avoid, you know, internal investigations. Like, so that's, nobody wants to be a cop? Yeah, but why? Like, you can change that. Okay, so then change that. Make that stop happening. They can't recruit? Well, why can't they recruit? What's the reason? Figure out the reason why and then solve that problem. It's simple. And so, like, these would be some of the things. And now, obviously, like, this is just off the top of my head, things that I would do. I think that I was very frustrated about the dialogue around, like, BLM and, like, the police officers because I thought that it was purely destructive. I thought it was completely destructive dialogue. It did no benefit to anybody. It only made everything worse. The only like kind of concession we got out of it that I agreed with was body cams, but that was happening already. So yeah, that's the way I see it.